is Douglas Osborne McClure, better known as the actor Doug McClure. Although Doug started and appeared in numerous movies and TV shows over a long and successful career, he's best remembered as the good-natured Trampus on NBC's television series The Virginian. However, his breakout role was NBC's Overland Trail, where Doug played sidekick to William Bendix. Doug McClure was born 11 May 1935 in Glendale, California, to Donald Reed McClure, who was an accountant, and to Clara Baker McClure, who was a newspaper columnist at the Santa Monica Outlook. Doug had one older brother, Donald Reed Jr., born the 30th of September 1931. Donald Reed McClure Jr. passed away in 2003 at the age of 72. He was cremated and his remains given to family. Doug McClure attended Palisades Elementary School and University High School in West Los Angeles. While still in elementary school, Doug learned to ride horses, and it became his passion. By the time he was in high school, he owned and was riding his own horse. During school break in his senior year, Doug spent 3 months working on Holland Livestock Company in Nevada, one of Nevada's largest ranches. This is Doug in his junior year, where he was captain of the football team, played basketball, but spent most of his spare time surfing. He graduated in 1954 and enrolled at Santa Monica City College, where he studied drama. He began doing modeling and even made a few TV commercials. He next enrolled in UCLA, where he studied physical education in case his dream of becoming an actor didn't work out. While still at UCLA, Doug was spotted by a Hollywood advertising agency. From that, he began getting small parts in TV series such as Death Valley Days.
The Army is deserting right and left, I understand.
And I hear all naval vessels are ordered offshore, incommunicado, to keep the crews from jumping ship.
Wait till the news reaches the East. We'll have a rush such as the world has never seen.
The Army will carry dispatches and exhibits to Washington at the earliest opportunity.
The Army? Why not the Navy?
Because the Army always gets there first. I hope to have the honor of being the official messenger.
In time, he signed a contract with Universal Pictures. After appearing in a couple of background, unaccredited parts, Doug finally got a legitimate part playing a cadet at the Naval Academy. It was a TV syndicated series called Men of Annapolis.
How are we ever going to get the room cleaned in time? Do you believe in brownies? Either that or the Navy's come through with maid service.
He will appear in 4 episodes in the series. In Doug's junior year at UCLA, he got his first featured role in The Enemy Below. Doug played a young ensign under the command of Robert Mitchum's character, where 2 World War II commanders are enemies, one American and one German. Kurt Jürgen played the German submarine commander set on destroying the American ship. It ends with both commanders having respect for each other. The Enemy Below was filmed on location in Hawaii. While there, Doug met Faye Millicent Brash, a talented opera singer. She was the daughter of Dr. and Mrs. Arden Brash of Hawaiian ancestry. 3 months after first meeting, they married on September the 28th, 1957. After the wedding, the couple will live at 16635 Akron Street, Pacific Palisades in California. On June 8, 1958, Doug and Faye McClure will have a baby girl. They named Tani McClure. Tani will begin her career at the age of 5 when she appears with her dad on The Virginian. She'll become an actress, director, writer, and singer in her adult life. She played the mother of Reese Witherspoon in Legally Blonde. 2 years after Taney's birth in 1960, Doug will land the role of Frank Flip Flippin in NBC's television series Overland Trail, which star William Bendix. Bendix will play the fictitious superintendent of the Overland Stage Company. Doug will be Bendix's young associate.
Just think, 2 whole weeks off with nothing to do.
Oh, you'll find something to do. Of course, I don't know whether or not it'll be the right thing, but you'll find it.
That's unkind of you, Mr. Kelly. The only thing that bothers me is you going through with it.
Going through with what?
Don't play innocent, Mr. Kelly. Got your word of honor this time. You can't wiggle out of it.
Why, Flip, I wouldn't dream of trying to wiggle out of it. Of course, now that you mention it.
The show will last for 17 episodes before being replaced. As soon as Overland Trail was canceled, Doug was offered another starring role on CBS's television series Checkmate with Sebastian Cabot. The program is about a detective agency that specializes in preventing crime before it happens.
Give him a rope. We can make it fast. My guardian angel is near.
Anybody out there look suspicious?
One man got here just before me, but I don't know how long he's going to stick around.
Well, let me know if he does.
What's all the mystery, Don? I mean, what's going on?
All I know is somebody's trying to kill Doc, and it could happen soon.
Why? And if I could discuss it with Doc, tell him why I'm here.
Afraid not, Jed. That's one of the conditions of our assignment. Doc must not know.
That's a hard way of making your point. Hey. Nice suit.
Thank you.
The series will continue until 1962. Also in 1960, Doug managed to find time to appear in a movie entitled The Unforgiven, with Burt Lancaster, Audie Murphy, silent film star Lillian Gish, and Audrey Hepburn. It was Hepburn's only Western movie. The story was about the neighbors of a frontier family that turned on them after suspecting that their daughter was stolen from a local Kiowa tribe. Doug played the brother of Lancaster and Murphy's characters, with all three in love with their adopted sister. Before filming began, director John Huston and Burt Lancaster took Lillian Gish into the desert to teach her how to shoot, because she had a scene where she had to shoot a gun. To their surprise, Lillian was a better shot than both. She said that she was taught by an old train robber that had worked on one of her early films after he got out of prison. Audrey Hepburn was seriously injured when she was thrown from a horse. She was several weeks pregnant at the time. The fall damaged her back and she was hospitalized for 6 weeks. Houston continued filming with stand-in doubles. When she later returned to the set, she had to wear a back brace, so her wardrobe was made larger to hide the brace. A few months later, Audrey had a miscarriage and blamed the fall. In 1961, in less than 4 years of marriage, Doug McClure and Faye Brash will divorce on May the 9th, 1961. 10 years after her divorce from Doug, in 1971, Faye will marry Don Parker, a football player with the San Francisco 49ers. They'll have a daughter, Tabor Parker Rainier. 7 months after Doug and Faye divorce, Doug will marry actress Barbara Luna on December the 17th, 1961. They met on the set of Overland Trail. Barbara said it was love at first sight. She couldn't resist his smile. Doug wanted his daughter, Taney, who was in Hawaii with her mother, to be at his wedding in California. Barbara had just finished filming Devil at 4 O'Clock with Frank Sinatra in Hawaii. She called Frank, and he used his private plane to fly Taney to Los Angeles. Luna said after marriage, they never worked together in films, but they would do public appearances together. She said Doug was not much of a drinker, But after he became more famous from his role as Trampas on the Virginian, he started hanging out with a Hollywood crowd and began drinking more. She also said that Doug was naive. He told her that the studio wanted to test him for the part of Trampas. "I won't get the part," he said. She told him it was the usual game that the studio played in order to lower his pay. She asked Doug who else is testing for the part, and he said, "I'm the only one." After 2 years of marriage, Barbara filed for divorce. In interviews years later, she wouldn't speak of the reasons for the divorce. She spoke kindly of Doug, or Dougie as she called him. However, newspapers at the time stated that she was thrown out of their house and pushed around as grounds for divorce. The divorce was final in 1963. The year before, in 1962, Doug landed the role of Trampas on NBC's 90-minute Western series, The Virginian. The series will last for 9 years, ending in 1971. Doug appeared in all 249 episodes. Before filming started, he met co-star James Drury, who played the foreman of Shiloh Ranch. Drury had attended the University High School that Doug attended. The two will become best friends for life. Drury said that off-screen, Doug was the same as he was on-screen. The two friends would talk by phone 3 times a week for 30 years. Drury said he couldn't help but smile when Doug walked into a room because he was full of good humor and high spirits all the time. He said that Doug was not a driven actor. He viewed it as a job that paid well. McClure said it was a joy working on The Virginian, and he liked all the cast members. Now this is a picture of part of the early cast of The Virginian. Seated on the left is Randy Boone. He played as guitar-playing ranch hand Randy Benton. Boone was born in 1942 in Fayetteville, North Carolina. He enrolled in North Carolina State University and later quit to hit the road. He spent 18 months bombing around the country, making his way by singing and playing guitar in numerous coffee houses. In 1963, by the time Randy got the part of Randy Benton on The Virginian, he had already appeared in several TV shows. Randy was married twice and had 1 son. After The Virginian, his career blossomed. As of January the 17th, 2023, at the age of 81, Randy is still going strong. Next to Randy is Roberta Shore, who played Betsy Garth, Judge Garth's daughter. Roberta began her career at the age of 10, singing country and western music at supermarket openings with Tex Williams, who invited her to join his weekend TV show at Knoxberry Farm. From there, she joined the Pinky Lee Show in 1950. She auditioned also for the Mickey Mouse Club, but was turned down for being too tall. However, she won a talent roundup contest during the second season. She appeared on the show singing and yodeling and playing her guitar. She then co-starred in several Disney productions, such as The Shaggy Dog in 1959, and Because They're Young in 1960, where Dick Clark played the high school principal trying to make a difference in students' lives. Doug McClure played the boyfriend of Roberta Shore. Doug's character gave Roberta his ring but expected things in return. She tells him to forget it. The next year in 1962, both Doug and Roberta will work together on The Virginian. She auditioned and won the part of Betsy. She played the only female at Shiloh Ranch at the age of 21. After the 3rd season, Roberta broke her 7-year contract to leave the show and get married, and left Los Angeles and moved to Utah to raise a family. During the following years, Roberta will marry 3 times with 2 kids. When she left Hollywood, she never thought of returning, and as far as I know, she still lives in Utah. Seated next to Roberta is actor Lee J. Cobb, who played Judge Henry Garth. Lee J. Cobb was born in New York City, the Bronx. At the age of 16, Cobb ran away from home, heading for California to become an actor. When he found out how hard it was, he returned home and studied accounting at New York University. Still interested in show business, Cobb returned to Hollywood and studied at the Pasadena Playhouse. At age 23, his first film debut was in 2 episodes of the film series The Vanishing Shadow in 1934.
Bert! That's the second time that plunger failed today.
All right, touch her off with a fuse, Mike.
Okay.
Back to work, men.
By the time he had become Judge Garth on the Virginian, he was already a major film star. Although the show will run until 1971, Lee will abruptly quit the show in 1966. Later, he said, "I hated working on the Virginian." Back in 1951, Lee J. Cobb had been accused of being a communist by the Committee on Un-American Activities and blacklisted from Hollywood. In 1953, he appeared before the committee and revealed 20 names. Cobb said that when the power of the government is brought against an individual, it's terrifying. Not being able to work or pay bills, not able to travel without being tailed, plus constant articulated threats. My wife couldn't handle it and had to be institutionalized. The government done a real number on me, he said. I'm as idealistic as anyone, but it was not worth dying for and putting my family through any more. After testifying to the committee, he was allowed to return to work. Cobb was married twice, first to Yiddish theater and film actress Helen Beverly in 1940. They had 2 children, before divorcing in 1952. Next, he married school teacher Mary Hirsch, and they had 2 children. Lee J. Cobb, actor, passed away February 1976 at the age of 64 from a heart attack. He's buried at the Mount Zion Memorial Park Cemetery in Los Angeles. After Cobb suddenly quit the role as Judge Garth, the producers scrambled to replace him with veteran actor Charles Bickford. Bickford loved working on the Virginian and said that he wished he had been there from the start. Unfortunately, Bickford will pass away after a very short time. During the 6th season, he had just finished his scene on Friday night. Everyone knew that he was feeling bad and tired and tried to get him to go home, but he insisted on staying. That Sunday, actor Charles Bickford passed away on November the 9th, 1967, at the age of 76, from pneumonia and blood poisoning. Charles was only married once and had 1 son and 1 daughter. Standing on the left is James Drury Jr., who played the Virginian's ranch foreman. Although Drury had been acting since he was 12 years old and had appeared in such movies as Love Me Tender in 1956 with Elvis, and Bernadine with Pat Boone in 1957. By the time he became the Virginian, he was a well-seasoned actor. He said although he was the front runner for the part, he still had to audition 3 times before he got it. One of the studio's requirements was that he lose 30 pounds. It was hard, he said, but I did it. He was then given a 7-year contract with Universal Studios. In 1991, he was inducted into the Hall of Great Western Performers at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in Oklahoma City.
Thank you so much. Members of the Board of Directors, Cowboy Hall of Fame, Steve called me a month or two ago and told me about this, and I've been nervous as a cat on a hot tin roof ever since. I'd like, first of all, to thank Owen Wister, who wrote a character that was instrumental in the lives of many actors. I'm so proud to be joining Mr. Cooper and Mr. McClure as two of the actors who are honored in the Cowboy Hall of Fame and who also played the Virginian in motion pictures.
James Drury was married 3 times. He had 2 sons. On August the 25th, 2020, James Child Drury Jr., the Virginian, passed away from natural causes at the age of 85 at his home in Houston, Texas. In the photo standing next to Doug was Clu Gulager, who played Sheriff Emmett Riker. Clu was from Holdenville, Oklahoma. He was of Cherokee ancestry, enrolled citizen of the Cherokee Nation. His grandmother's sister was the mother of humorist Will Rogers. Clu's name came from his dad, who seen a nest of martins when he was born. Clu is the Cherokee name for martins. Clu studied acting at Baylor University. One of his first TV parts was on TV series How Gun Will Travel, starring Richard Boone.
The man got away, went up to the mountains, just north of here, and the chaplain went after him. You know how Chaplain April is.
I think we both know how Chaplain April is.
Well, there's been a blizzard since then up there. The warden had to pull his search party back. April wouldn't come back. He's still up there, somewhere after the convict. April hates to let a soul get away from him.
In 1960, he played Billy the Kid on TV's The Tall Man with Barry Sullivan.
Sure arm there, Patrick. Oh, a few shotgun pellets in the arm never hurt a man. I thought I left you in jail.
Well, you did, but that was a mistake, like I said.
You mean they just up and turned you loose, eh?
Well, yeah, something like that.
In 1952, Clu married his only true love, Myram Bird Nethery. They have 2 sons, John and Tom. Myram passed away in 2003 after 50 years of marriage. Clu said that the reason he got the part of Emmett was that he told him he needed the work. Frank Price, studio executive, was a close friend of Gulager's, and he got him the job. On August the 5th, 2022, 19 years after his wife's death, Clu Gulager passed away at his son's home in Los Angeles of natural causes at the age of 93. 2 years after Doug McClure's divorce from Barbara Luna, he married Helen Crane on 30 October 1965. He had just played in the film Shenandoah as a young Confederate soldier named Sam. Set during the Civil War, Shenandoah starred James Stewart and Rosemary Forsythe. Charles Anderson, played by James Stewart, was a widow with a large family who was determined to keep his boys out of the Civil War. However, circumstances forced him to take up arms when his 16-year-old son was mistakenly captured by a Union patrol, thinking that he was a rebel. Charles was determined to get his son back. Doug McClure played a Confederate officer engaged to Charles Anderson's daughter.
Well, I love her, Mr. Anderson.
Do you like her?
Well, I just said I did.
No, you said you loved her. There's some difference between loving and liking.
The opening battle in Shenandoah is the same battle scene used in 1957's Raintree County, and it was also used in 1962's How the West Was Won. That same year, Doug lost his 61-year-old dad, Donald Reed McClure Sr. 6 years after his death, Doug's mother, Clara, married Frank Camp, former mayor of Beverly Hills, in 1971. Camp passed away 3 years later in 1974 at the age of 82. On May the 15th, 1967, fire broke out on the back lot at Universal Studios. where the town of Medicine Bow was filmed. The set had to be rebuilt, taking several months. In the meantime, they used scenes of Medicine Bow that had been used before. After only 2 years of marriage, Doug and Helen Crane divorced. It'll be Doug's second divorce while filming The Virginian. 2 years after his divorce from Helen, Doug will marry Diane Solney on July the 11th, 1970. They'll soon have a daughter, Valerie Diane McClure. Valerie will be loved and grow up sheltered from the public. Her and her mother will always remain close. In 1971, The Virginian ended, but Doug stayed on another year from the spin-off show called The Men of Shiloh. In 1972 and 73, while working on The Men from Shiloh, Doug was also working on a sci-fi detective series called Search, where he rotated roles with Hugh O'Brien and Antonio Franciosa. The series lasted 1 year. The next year after Search closed, Doug starred in The Land That Time Forgot in 1974. The movie is about a World War I U-boat that sank a ship and then takes on its surviving passengers. Then the sub ends up, after running out of fuel, floating onto an ancient island where they have to battle prehistoric animals. In 1975 and 76, Doug starred along with William Shatner in ABC's Barnaby Coast, a Western series about secret agents bringing law and order to 1880s San Francisco. By the time Barnaby Coast ended, Doug and Peter Cushing had lead roles in At the Earth's Core, a film about a Victorian science that digs to the Earth's core and finds another world ruled by lizard creatures. The next year, in 1977, Doug will make guest appearances on TV's miniseries Roots as Jimmy Brent. Brent, a deserter from the Confederate Army, shows up at a blacksmith shop asking for help from a black man he had known. He sends Tom, the black man, on an errand, and when he's gone, Brent tries to rape his wife. Tom returns and catches him in the act. A fight ensues and Tom drowns Brent in the Quincy tub. On August 24, 1979, Diane Solney and Doug McClure divorced after 9 years of marriage. Doug had met Diane Fernberg, who worked in the film industry in London. They married on 27 August 1979, 3 days after his divorce from Diane Solney. Doug and Diane Fernberg will live in Sherman Oaks, California. She will later begin a career in real estate. Her success, she said, is because she was involved in every transaction. Doug and Diane Fernberg will remain married for 16 years until his death. In 1984, Doug will appear as the Slapper along with Jamie Farr and Jack Elam in Cannonball Run 2, about a cross-country road race. It starred Burt Reynolds and Frank Sinatra. In 1987 through 1991, Doug will play the mayor in a TV sitcom entitled Out of This World, where a teenager learns that she has superpowers. In 1994, Doug will again appear on Maverick as one of the poker players in The Big Game, that starred Mel Gibson, Jodie Foster, and the original TV Maverick, James Garner. Back in 1957, Doug appeared in an episode entitled The Jeweled Gun as an unaccredited hotel clerk in the original TV series.
Checked in this evening, sir. You know anything about her? No. You know who she is? I'm working on it.
Also in 1994, Doug played the part of Hamilton Monroe in The Riders in the Storm with Bo Hopkins and Kim Dawson. The movie will be released 4 months after Doug's passing. In the early part of 1994, Doug learned that he had lung cancer. He was determined to fight the disease and keep working. For a while, his treatments seemed to work. On November 6, 1995, Doug was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, located at 7065 Hollywood Boulevard. His daughter Valerie was there, also with his best friend, James Drury, and others. James said the star made Doug feel better after fighting cancer for over a year. This will be 3 months before his death. After receiving his star on the Walk of Fame, Doug flew to Hawaii to appear on a TV series, One West Waikiki. While filming a scene on January 8, 1995, Doug collapsed from an apparent stroke. He was flown to Los Angeles to be hospitalized. One of Doug's friends, Robert Fuller, said we all thought he was getting better. Then we learned that his cancer had spread to his liver. Doug McClure passed away on February the 5th, 1995, at his Sherman Oaks home located at 14936 Stonesboro Place. He was interred at Woodland Memorial Cemetery in Santa Monica. Doug Osborne McClure, Trampas, was 59 years old.